exactly 1 week ago, I switched from Windows 11 to Linux Mint. And at first, the reason for that was just that the community, so all of you guys in the comments, you urged me to try out Linux, try Omarchi, try Zorin OS, try this, try that. And I got comments, why are you still using Windows 11? Or when I was opening Microsoft Paint to show you guys something, someone commented, "Oh, that was a jump scare," because I'm always using a Linux-like terminal in WSL2, which is the Linux terminal that Windows provides and integrates. So I've been doing all my coding videos on that. And then people were scared when suddenly a Windows application launched out of nothing. And it completely broke my character, it seems like. So I thought, okay, maybe I have to try Linux. And my biggest worry switching to Linux was that things just don't work as well as they do on Windows 11, because that is kind of a stereotype that is out there. In Linux, you have to do everything yourself. You have to fix many software problems. You have to know the command line very well. I'm quite advanced on the command line, I would say, so I can deal with that. But I expected a lot of maintenance work, especially related to drivers and all of that. But this was a completely uneducated thought. So my experience switching to Linux from Windows was initiated by your comments, and also because I feel like Windows is consistently upping its game in monitoring their users. Microsoft keeps rolling out additional AI features which nobody asked for. Microsoft Copilot, integration in Teams, in Outlook, I think it's even in Paint. I don't know. I think there's even AI in Paint right now. Let me just confirm that. Firefox. Let me open Firefox. And let me also open my profile for my videos here for a second. So let's check out Paint. I think I saw AI in Paint. AI in Paint. Oh yeah. Use image created in Paint to generate AI art. So there's now AI integration in Paint. You cannot even use Paint anymore without AI or without some AI software running in the background. Even though and that's actually one thing that I love to do, I just love to sketch out something and show it to people on video calls or, well, in the videos that I record here. So now that even Paint is using AI, I really can't trust Windows anymore. What else is using AI that we don't even know about? And of course, there's also telemetry. So they are monitoring literally all the things that you are doing. And I think there was a discussion on Windows 11 even taking screenshots periodically of your desktop. I don't know if they rolled that one out, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. So what I did is I installed a Windows deep loader on my system. Let me show you that one, Win11 deep load. For example, this one, there are multiple such softwares, and this is a shell script, a PowerShell script to remove pre-installed apps, disable telemetry, as well as perform various other changes to customize, declutter, and improve your Windows experience. So since I deep-loaded my Windows and completely got rid of all the AI crap and the telemetry and all of that stuff, I literally had no visibility of all the stupid changes that Windows did. And I was thinking that Windows is a completely fine operating system. But I completely forgot about the fact that I customized the hell out of it. I installed Windows 11 and I got rid of all the bloat. And you guys in the comments were wondering why I used Windows 11. Basically, I Linuxified Windows 11. I stripped away everything. I stripped away telemetry. I stripped away all the bloat. I I changed dynamic swapping for a fixed dedicated swap. I set performance settings to remove all the animations. I changed the way the taskbar looks like to the Windows 7 and Windows 10 style. Uh, I did so many changes. So basically, what I was using was not Windows 11. It was Daniel 11. It was my own operating system because I stripped everything away. So, since I changed this operating system so much, anyways, I decided maybe I can just switch the entire operating system and try out something different. And I noticed all that bloatware installed on Windows. I keep noticing it on my work laptops. I have two work laptops, one for my company, one for the customer company that hires me. Both of them have Copilot integrated and all of that stuff. It's so unnecessary. Especially if you use on your Windows 11 work laptop the AI, Copilot AI, then your company's IT team is able to monitor your requests to the AI. So anything you do with AI, they will be able to see it. So, and it's very ironic that, especially in Europe where I live and in Germany where I live, people are very, very sensitive about data privacy. But then the companies integrate AI into their work laptops and send all the company internal data effectively to Microsoft. Yeah, so now we have Copilot integrated. Copilot is the AI chatbot. Then there's now Excel integrated with AI, Word has AI now, PowerPoint has AI now, Paint has AI now, everything is AI. All right, so effectively that made me switch. Now I have set up Linux Mint. What I did was I just burned an ISO that I downloaded online on this small little USB stick, and I plugged it in. No, what I did was actually a bit different. I partitioned my hard drive first to be able to set up a dual boot. So I dedicated an entire, I think the space of 256 gigabytes of unallocated space on my SSD. And then I installed Linux Mint onto that unallocated space. And it was a completely flawless installation. Because Linux Mint, when the setup stick the boot manager started, the Linux Mint setup started, it detected the unallocated space and automatically suggested to install a dual boot, which was perfect because that's exactly what I wanted to do. And so now on this computer I have Linux and I have Windows, but since I have Linux, I don't think I have maybe once booted into Windows just to do something work related, which required Teams, but that was it. Then I found out that everybody can use Teams in their browser, so there's not even a need for desktop software. All right, so basically now I'm running everything in Linux, and I was worried about continuing to run this channel from a complete Linux environment because I didn't know how well OBS, the video recording software, which you see right here, works. Now you can see the software with my video being recorded right now, the microphone down here. I didn't know how that one works. I did not know how well Audacity works for audio editing and all of those software that I need to run this channel. Also, I did not know, can I make my terminal look the same way as I did on the other videos where I used the Windows WSL terminal, but all of that was no problem at all. Now, if you remember from my older episodes on Windows, there's sometimes I lost my Wi-Fi signal. So I did some coding, half an hour or an hour, and suddenly my Wi-Fi connection my Wi-Fi just disconnected. And from that point on, I never had any Wi-Fi access. I had to plug in my phone via USB and enable USB tethering to forward my phone's mobile data to the computer such that I can have internet access again. Because it seems to be the case that as soon as something doesn't work about a USB device on my Windows operating system setup, it just disconnects permanently, and it's having a really hard time, if at all. It's not setting up the device again. So it is the case that it was very frequently the case, at least once or twice a day, that my Wi-Fi disconnected, and then I had no chance again to reconnect. And I was forced to restart my entire computer, effectively wiping away all the work context that I was currently doing. Now, I want to show you how that behavior changed on Linux. And that point alone, the disconnecting behavior of the Wi-Fi in Windows, is that being fixed is already completely justifying a switch of operating systems, in my opinion. Because if Wi-Fi disconnects, it should just reconnect. There's no reason for it to disconnect and stay disconnected. So let me open my network tab. As you can see, this is my Wi-Fi. It's now connected to the Wi-Fi router. And now let me show you something. I disconnect now the USB Wi-Fi antenna, which I'm using with my computer, and now it's disconnected. Now with Windows, I would be forced to restart the entire operating system to ever acquire Wi-Fi signal again. So now let me replug that USB Wi-Fi antenna into my USB stick, into my USB hub. So now it's plugged back in. Let me close that network tab and open it again. And as you can see, it's connecting and connected. That's it. And I can even, and you probably think that's stupid. That's some stupid minor thing, but for me that's life-changing because it really allows me to work now. What's going on now? YouTube. As you can see, the internet connection is now working. It was just DuckDuckGo not loading. All right, so this alone is a complete life changer for me. And the same thing is the case for my webcam, because in my recording software, I have this webcam in the top right corner of the screen. Now, when I started OBS in Windows, for some reason, I have no explanation, the webcam just wouldn't pop up. Then I had to close OBS, the recording software. I had to unplug the webcam from my USB hub, plug it back in, and then restart OBS such that the webcam would be detected. Now, all of that is no problem in Linux for some reason. Let me show you. And for you, it might be something completely normal if you're using Linux all the time, or if you're not having such problems, I don't know. But this was the behavior on Windows. It was completely ridiculous. And I don't even know why I tolerated it. But now that it's gone, it's a life changer. It's a complete game changer. So now I have disconnected my webcam. You see that the image is now standing still. It's basically, it's frozen. On Windows, it would be gone and nothing would happen. And now I plug it back in. And let's see what happens. I'm back. And that's a huge change. In Windows, it would not be able. In Windows, the system would not be able to recover the webcam. I would have to restart the entire computer again. And that's something that I find completely awesome, because this is such a huge time saver. This, at least in an aggregate, saves me, let's say, 1 hour a week. And that's valuable time, because I mean, whenever you're forced to restart your computer and wipe away all your work in progress and close all the programs and save all the intermediary files, that's such a time waster. And then when you're restarting, just because you want your webcam to work again, you are suddenly forced to install an automatic update by Windows, which takes another 10 minutes, and then probably during the update re-enables the telemetry to spy on you. As I said, I don't know why I tolerated that, honestly. And I find that this experience, that I can just plug devices out, plug them back in, and everything just works flawlessly, that's a complete game changer. It's awesome. And it just shows how much proper engineering and thought goes into Linux, because things just work. And it's not just a myth, they just work. Now, to be fair, probably if you have some exotic device, I don't know, some Wi-Fi dongle with 7 antennas coming from, that was manufactured in, I don't know, in Antarctica, in some bunker by some crazy dude, then maybe it's not compatible. But then you have to do some setup yourself. But if you use regular hardware, just like me, a regular webcam, Logitech, and a regular USB Wi-Fi dongle, in my case it's TP-Link, I think. So all of that is already supported. And I looked up what the reason for that is. And the reason for that is that in Linux, drivers are built into the kernel. Now, you might already know this. I did not know this. And that's why you don't have to install any drivers if you use Linux. And you cannot imagine, or you cannot fathom, the number of times I had to deal with driver issues. Heck, even for my keyboard, I had to install a driver on Windows, because this keyboard allows LED lights, and somehow that required a driver. I don't know why. On Linux, it just works. All right. What I wanted to show you is the drivers. If I search for drivers in manuals in Linux, let's just have a look. There are a couple of man pages here related to drivers, and those available results here, they show you that stuff is already pre-installed in Linux. For example, there's the ATI video driver. For example, I don't know exactly what ATI is. Probably it's some company manufacturing video devices. Then there's AMD Radeon GPU video drivers. So AMD GPUs should be supported out of the box. I think several Linux distributions also, in the meanwhile, support NVIDIA GPUs out of the box. For me, that's not an issue, because I don't use a GPU. I don't use a GPU because I just don't need one. For me, everything works perfectly fine without a GPU, and I don't really play any games. And if I do, somehow I don't need a GPU. Everything works perfectly fine somehow for me. Why do you need a GPU? It's unnecessary. Tell me one reason to get a GPU in the comments. I just don't need one. Somehow my video quality is still fine, my sound quality is still fine, and if I play a game, it still somehow works. But I'm not a gamer. Then there's sound card drivers. There is, what else is there? HP Smart Array Block driver, HP Smart Array SCSI driver, file system drivers. There are printer drivers. There's so much stuff. RAID drivers. I think that's for networked file systems. Oh, there's even an NVIDIA GPU video driver, AMD Radeon video driver, microchip, smart storage, SCSI drivers. So as you can see, there's tons of drivers already available here. There are many more. This is just the number of drivers where there are man pages available. Specifically, most of these man pages here, I have the are section 4, and section 4 is man pages for special files. So there are not man pages dedicated to drivers. I think those are just special files needed by those drivers. Yeah. Okay, there's AT&T drivers, Wacom drivers, so much stuff. And everything is already built into the Linux kernel. Now, what does that mean? That means that for any device that you plug into the system, it will detect the driver to be used, and then that driver will just work. Why does it just work? It just works because Linux is an open source operating system, and many people maintain the repositories. Now, that necessitates that people just put out good quality code. Right? If you've ever seen how Linus Torvalds reviews merge requests and freaks out over details, which is completely justified. Let me just look up Linus Torvalds merge request or pull request comments. That's epic. Somewhere there was something very funny where he, well, probably justifiably, reacted very sensitively to bad code and ripped the merge request author apart in the air. Let's see if I can find something on the spot. Linus Torvalds pull request comments. Let's see here. No, can't find something right now, but the Linux community really just doesn't accept bad code. And that ensures that for the latest devices, maybe it takes some time to develop a driver, but when a driver comes out and is released, then it's rock solid, usually. And on the other hand, most device manufacturers, for example, for webcams or Wi-Fi dongles or those periphery device manufacturers, they also want to support Windows. And for Windows, the common practice is that every manufacturer has to provide their own device drivers with their devices, because in Windows there are no built-in drivers into the operating system. It is all supplementary software that is being installed. Now, Windows updates also provide device drivers, but they are still, as far as I know, not supplied by Microsoft themselves, but by the device manufacturers. And here, those drivers, they are closed source, and that's why they are much more unstable. If you've ever coded against the Windows API, which we've done in past videos already, then you know that Windows API interactions are much more complicated and convoluted for probably some arbitrary reason than interacting with the Linux APIs. In Linux, everything is just files. Everything is just input, output to files. Key presses are just forwarded to standard in. Standard in can be piped into something, into some file, which can be monitored by some process. Everything is somehow simple. And in Windows, it's all convoluted. There are so many API calls and you can mess up so many things. And if you require, as an operating system distributor such as Microsoft, that every that every manufacturer provides their own drivers, then you can expect that things are going to be shipped as minimum viable products. Things should just work barely, but since those companies just want to sell their products, they just ship something and nobody really reviews their stuff. It should just work somehow. And in Linux, you have this open source community, and especially on the kernel, they are pro engineers, and the reviews are hardcore. If your driver or the code that you're committing is not rock solid, you're not going to make that pull request. And that's why things just seem to work, even if there's no dedicated driver to a specific model of a specific manufacturer for some specific device. For example, I have this very specific webcam model. If there's no driver for that specific model, then maybe there's some common protocol that many webcams use. And so all webcams can just default to the same driver. So Linux just supports all those webcams. And on the other hand, in Windows, it just requires you to install drivers for everything. All right. So Windows is somehow smaller, with better reviews. It's more stable. It's just pleasant to work with. Now, the next point that is very, very relevant for me is that in the video recording software that I use, and by the way, all of that I have just discovered in 1 week of working with Linux. So the video recording software that I use, OBS, somehow produces video files that are at most a third of the size of the video files when I record on Windows. Even though I use better recording settings on Linux. So let me just show you those settings that are available here. So here you can select video, output, and you can set a video bitrate, audio bitrate, video encoder, and all of those details. On Windows, I used a video bitrate of 5,000 kilobits per second or 10,000 kilobits per second. And here I use 20,000 kilobits per second somehow, because this is much more efficient in space. Linux seems to be recording at better quality, and probably due to better software integration, is able to encode the video with much better compression than on Windows. I don't know how the compression on Windows is exactly done, but on Linux it's probably based on the FFmpeg video encoder, and that just ensures that things are just state-of-the-art compressed. And because FFmpeg runs natively on Linux, it's also much faster. So recording stuff, saving it away on some hard drive, and also uploading it to YouTube is all way more efficient, and you get a better quality result on Linux because everything is way better integrated. The core reason I think for that is that developers, if you are a software engineer, you know that everything you program is usually done on Linux machines, except of course if you're doing dedicated stuff on Windows. But in general, software is developed on Linux. So when coders create stuff for Linux, there's already naturally a better chance for it to just be good quality. And if you're suddenly forced to code something for Windows, then the quality might lack because you just don't know so much. There's much better knowledge about the Linux operating system than there is for the for the Windows operating system. So again, there's much better knowledge available for Linux than there is for Windows. And that's why software just seems to be working together much more smoothly, more efficiently, with much less space requirements. Yeah, and all of that saves time and it saves money. Because I can now record videos at better quality, and they require, due to the smaller file size, less time editing, less time uploading, and they require less time in permanent store and less space in permanent storage. So this is real money saved, right? Because I don't need so big hard drives now. And all of that is inherent to how the software, the same software, OBS, and this applies to all the other software as well, all of that is inherent to how the software is implemented in Linux. It's just more neat. Because there's no focus on grabbing all the user's data using AI and telemetry and watching you for what you want to buy and trying to send you ads and all of these things. The focus on Linux is just making good software systems. And I love that. That is real money for someone who creates content such as me. And that is also real money for everybody else. If you use your device for studying, then you can have a much more responsive, much more neatly working system for much less money, because running Linux just requires less space, less CPU power, and it just offers you better software somehow. Yeah, so you can scale down your hardware and still get the same result, or you can keep your hardware the same, which I'm doing right now naturally because I'm just keeping my computer. I'm not throwing it out or selling it or replacing it with something different. You can just keep your hardware and suddenly produce better quality stuff that takes up less space. It's awesome. And that's the big point number 2. Point number 1 was that drivers work incredibly nicely. Devices don't just fail. Nothing has ever failed in that week for a single time. On Windows, I would have already had 15 restarts due to some device not working. And the big point number 2 is software quality. And for my specific case, video editing software just works so much better. Files are smaller, but have the same quality or better quality at the same size, however you want to put it. It's just an awesome experience. I love it. Now, the next point, and this is a small one because I haven't had many worries about this anyways. But on Linux, you really don't have to worry about malware. You don't have to worry about viruses, Trojans, keyloggers. Those malicious software just, they don't really exist in Linux. They do exist. You can code them, of course, but it's very hard for malware to spread. On Windows, it's very easy because you can somehow convince some victim to execute some program once that is a malicious, for example, a virus or a keylogger or a Trojan, a remote access tool, and then that tool installs itself automatically in startup and everywhere else, and everything is just hijacked that way. And that even works with vulnerabilities where software can just enter maliciously even without the user willingly starting that software. On Linux, there's an inherent difference because let me just show you what happens when you download a script. For example, Linux git script bash, I don't know, something. Let's look up on GitHub. I just want to download one script file somewhere. a collection of useful script files. So let's say that this script, git find big whatever, is a virus and it's downloaded to my computer. Oop, there it is. But let me copy the download link and download it here. Ah, no. Okay, let's go to the downloads folder and copy. Where is it? Git find big. There it is. Okay, let's move downloads. Git find big here. And as you can see now, the git find big program is available, but I cannot just execute it. If I do this to execute the script, then it tells us permission denied. And that is the fundamental reason why there are so much fewer viruses on Linux. Because whatever execute, you first have to explicitly give it permissions to execute. So here I have to change the permissions, add execute to git find big, and now I can do it. And now I was able to execute the script. So whatever you execute in Linux, it has to have this execute permission, otherwise it just won't execute. And on Windows, there have been several vulnerabilities where just software could somehow execute itself. Yeah. All right. And of course, the user base in Linux is much more sophisticated. They never need to worry about viruses because you're finding the correct download button on a download page. Now, you all know those download pages where there are 4 different download buttons and 3 of them are just ads that if you click on them, some pop-up will try to sell you something. Okay, so much less malware on Linux. Additionally, also a small point there. Oh wait, I don't even know if my Linux installation, which I have set up, has an antivirus. Antivirus. I don't think there is such a thing. Somehow it doesn't need one. But on Windows, you just need one by default. You need Windows Defender. Otherwise, you are lost. Yeah. One more advantage, super fast startup. My Windows was also super fast, admittedly, but that's just because I stripped away all of the bloat. But by default, Windows takes some time because it just has so many applications that start by default. It's just not the case on Linux. But this is something that everybody knows about, so I don't want to deal or spend so much time on this point. And then another point that I like is that the software I'm using is as minimal as possible. Have a look at this one, Proton VPN. This right here should open right now. It has already opened. I had it already opened. That's why it didn't open in the foreground right now. Let me switch over. This is the UI of Proton VPN. It's just a simple window where I can connect to any country, to a VPN in any country. Let's say Norway, connect. It's connecting and I'm connected. That's it. Now, when I go into my browser and I check my IP address location, then it will show me that I'm located in Oslo right now in Norway. Then I can switch back to Proton VPN, disconnect. It's super simple. It's basically as simple as software gets. I can also search for a country, let's say Germany, connect, it's connecting. Let's refresh my IP location and I'm back in Frankfurt. So the software on Linux, again, and this is similar to the point that I already mentioned before, the software is just kept as simple as possible. Now compare that with Proton VPN on Windows. Have a look here. This is how Proton VPN looks like on Windows. Let me just increase that image size. As you can see, that's a bit pixelated. That one's better. Yeah, okay, that's a better image. Or that one, okay, Netherlands. That's how Proton VPN looks like on Windows. Admittedly, it looks better. It looks like more development effort has gone into it, which for sure is the case. But it's just a perfect example of the difference in Linux philosophy and Windows philosophy. On Linux, all you have is this simple graphical user interface. Of course, you also have all the settings. They are available right here. And as a comparison, if you have a look at the Proton VPN on Windows, it's showing you a global map. It's showing you live traffic usage in the bottom right corner with graphs. It's showing you where your location right now is. It's showing you flags as icons. It's just way more visual overhead. And while that's nice and it looks awesome, admittedly, it's just not necessary. So on Linux, software is simple and works perfectly fine. I like that. By the way, if you're interested in Proton VPN and being able to switch your IP address anytime and also stay anonymous online, because that way nobody knows where you're from, and also your traffic is encrypted and hidden from your internet service provider, if you want that, I can highly recommend it. I've been using it for at least a month now, continuously. It's awesome. You just feel so much safer online. You can do whatever you want and nobody's going to stop you or block you or monitor you. If you're interested in that, then have a look in the description below. Proton VPN continuously has awesome offers for new customers. So I really recommend them, and they are dirt cheap compared to what they are offering. Alrighty. Then, last point that I want to talk about is, what do I still like about Windows? Why would I still use Windows? Well, maybe not why would I still use Windows, but what I still prefer in Windows about the operating system itself or the software. So first point I prefer on Windows is I somehow prefer the system font on Windows. I don't know if there's a good comparison online. Let me look for one. Let me go into the browser. Windows font versus Linux font or Ubuntu font. Let's have a look and see if I can find a good example. So there's this is an example of the fonts you can see in Windows. Maybe you can open this in your dedicated tab. Oh, yes. So this is how Windows looks like. Okay, this is Windows XP, but still the font is the same. I just like this font. I feel like this is a classic. It gives me nostalgia. It's awesome. It's very readable. It looks very computer-like. I like that. And in Ubuntu, the default system font is very, very rounded off. It's somehow thinner, I have the impression. And it's elegant. Now, of course, this is completely subjective, but I just like this classic Windows font. I dig it. It's awesome. All right, so that's one reason. Of course, you can set up fonts. You can just probably install that font on Linux as well, and then you have it. But somehow I just like the feeling that this font gives me. And I know this is a stupid reason. It's not a reason to switch the operating system to a worse one. It's not a real reason why I would switch back to Windows. And also another point I like about Windows, I genuinely like about Windows, really significantly, is Paint. I just like Microsoft Paint. Let's have a look at Microsoft Paint. I liked it up until the point where it integrated AI. So have a look at Paint. It's just nice. And we don't forget about this image creator AI crap. But Paint itself is just nice looking software where you can paint something. I just like it. Now compare Paint with the Linux variant. But especially, let's have a look at this Paint. This was Peak Paint. Peak Paint from 1985 to 2017 is Peak Paint area. I hope this website here loads. Well, but the image is available here, so let me open that in a new tab. Oh, did I accidentally close my... No, I didn't close my VPN. So this is Peak Paint. I just love how this looks like. Now compare that with the Linux variant. If I type Paint here, then it already suggests me drawing, which is the Paint variant. It looks like this. It's a bit bland. Probably it can do all the same stuff that real Paint can do, but I find that real Paint just looks way more friendly. It looks way more familiar. I miss it. Can I have Paint on Linux somehow? If you know, put it in the comments. And also, if I paint something here, for example, I write Daniel, somehow it looks shit. I have the feeling that when I did the same thing in real Paint, in Microsoft Paint, it looked better. But anyway, and also I don't know where to click here. I don't know where I can increase the brush size. I don't know where I can pick the color. In the bottom left corner, but it's hidden away. There are some colors. I prefer real Paint. Full stop. Okay, let's not waste more time. So, summary. On Linux, everything works perfect. Everything is neat. It saves me so much time. Devices don't just disconnect. And everything is stable. Everything is awesome. Videos record at much better quality. Everything is smooth, fast, responsive. And it's just awesome. And my only reason to switch, my only reasons to keep liking Windows are the way Windows makes me feel with their fonts, with how it looks, and with Paint. That's it. What else is there? I'm going to keep enjoying Linux, and please write in the comments which operating system you use and your experiences. Bye-bye.